Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We're going to get ready to start here. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the full county board this Thursday, October 13th, 2022. Before we work on the agenda, I have to point out a couple of things to you. Number one, we have on page 193 in your packet, there's a correction that needs to be made. If you want to turn to 193, it's paragraph 7 there. It's been pointed out to us that the language was wrong where it says, whereas McLean County has funds available. When you get down to where the second line says, has offered to pay for the ongoing maintenance costs associated, it should be associated instead of association, with a jurisdictional transfer. And instead of has offered to paid, it should say has paid. We didn't offer to pay, it was already done. So just want to make sure you got that correction. It was pointed out to us by one of our members, and staff looked at it and made that correction. We have 9 people who have signed up to speak on items that are not on our agenda, so they'll be at the end of the meeting. I want to point out that our rules, and we can go to that if you need a rules page, which is Rule 2013 G2A. And this is about conducting meetings. It's on page 18. If you have a rule book with you, there shall be a total maximum of 15 minutes allotted in accordance with 2012E and 15 minutes allotted in accordance with 2012I during each county board meeting for appearances for all non-members. Any member may, if we get done with our 15 minutes, and if all 8 speakers have not gone through, any member may request an extension of time at that time. So I'll entertain that if anybody wants to do that, if we're running a little bit short on time. The other way, the rule is set up so that if there is a group of people speaking on the same subject, sometimes they can nominate one speaker, and then we can then give them 5 minutes. So when we get to that, I thought I'd just point it out to give you a little bit better understanding on what we're doing with that. Also in our consent agenda, item B23, 6B23, under decommissioning agreement and ESCO agreement. There was no action taken on stand-up for that at this time, so we'll take those off from the agenda. Any questions on that? Okay, we'll go on then with our meeting. Invocation, moment of silence. Member Klein, please stand.
During these days marked the transition from summer to winter, from growth to dormancy, from hurried activity to rest. On this day, October 13th, the Romans honored the god Fons, protector of springs and fresh water, with a public holiday known as the Fontinalia. Water is linked to thankfulness, healing, cleansing, and the granting of wishes. On this day, Romans customarily festooned their wells with garlands and floated flowers on streams as they cleansed themselves and their houses after the harvest, preparing for winter. As we take a moment to pause and reflect before our meeting, I ask that you train your minds on the ancient ideas celebrated today: transition, hope, and cleansing. And don't forget to make a wish.
Thank you. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. County Clerk, please call the roll.
Randall Martin.
Here.
Catherine Metzger.
Present.
Jim Rogal.
Present.
Susan Schaefer.
Here.
James Solner.
Here.
Gerald Thompson.
Present.
Shana Wachinsky.
Here.
George Wendt.
Present.
Josh Barnett.
Present.
Hannah Beer.
Present.
Beverly Bell.
Here.
Lindsay Bloomfield. Absent. Sharon Chung.
Present.
Leah Klein. Chuck Erickson.
Here.
William John Friedrich. Absent. Elizabeth Johnston.
Here.
Val Lehman.
Present.
Brian Lawler.
Here.
John McIntyre.
Here. I believe we have 18 members present and 2 absent. We do have a quorum. We'll go on to item 5 on our agenda. We have no one who has applied to speak from the public or any county employees in reference to an item that is on our agenda. So we'll go on to item 6, was the consent agenda before you. What say you? A motion by Member Johnson. Is there a second? Second by Member Chung. Comments or discussion? Member Metzger?
Yes, I would like to pull from consent. That would be 6C, 1A, B, C, and D.
Okay, and that goes to land use C, 1A, B, C, and D. Okay, are there any others this time? Hearing none, then I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Member Martin. Is there a second? Second by Member Chung. Comments or questions, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. And opposed? And the motion is passed. We do have one transfer ordinance, which is item 6D, which requires 2/3 vote by the county board, and I need a motion to approve. It's on page 68. Motion by Member Klein, second by Member Schaefer. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Anyone wishes to have their vote, no vote recorded? Hearing none, we'll record this as transfer ordinance passing unanimously. Thank you very much. We have no reappointments at this time or resolutions, and so we'll go on to the report of the Executive Committee. Vice Chairman Solmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Executive Committee has 3 items today for action. The first one is E1A, request approval of an amended service agreement with the McLean County Center for Human Services for triage center services, and I so move.
It's included.
Oops. Here we go. 7A, 1A, request approval of an amendment to the employment agreement between McLean County and the county administrator that was distributed, and I would make that motion.
Motion by Chairman Solner, second by Member Schaefer. Comments, questions, or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion is carried.
That's the only item the executive has today. I would be glad to answer any questions. Our general report will be found in the unapproved minutes.
Okay, thank you, sir. We'll go on to the report of the Finance Committee. Chairman Metzger.
Thank you, Chairman McIntyre. The Finance Committee brings forth 7B1A, and that's request approval of an Illinois State Board of Elections voter registration grant 2023 acceptance agreement, and I so move.
Motion by Chairman Metzger. Is there a second? Second by Member Lawler. Comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion is carried. You have the floor.
Our next item is 7B1B, and that's request approval of an Illinois State Elections Polling Place Accessibility Federal Grant 2023 acceptance agreement, and I so move.
Motion by Chairman Metzger, second by Member Thompson. Comments or questions? Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And the motion is passed.
We have no other items. Our general report can be found in the unapproved meeting minutes, pages 17 through 25. I'm willing to answer any questions if there are any.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. We'll go on to the report of the Health Committee. Chairman Schaefer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Health Committee has one item for action. 7C1A is request approval of a grant agreement between the State of Illinois Department of Healthcare and Family Services and the County of McLean, and I so move.
Motion by Chairman Schaefer, second by Member Beer. Comments or questions? Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And the motion is passed.
And our general report can be found on pages 30 to 35 of the unapproved minutes.
Thank you. We'll go on to item D, Justice Committee Report. Chairman Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Justice Committee has no items for action, and our general report can be found on pages 9 through 16 of the unapproved minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go on to the report of the Property Committee. Chairman Barnett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Property Committee's items were taken care of in a consent. A copy of our report may be found in the unapproved minutes packet, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. We'll go on to the report of the Land Use and Transportation Committee. Remember, we have 4 additions on this agenda, and so I'll turn it back over to you, Chairman Solmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Land use does have several items today. The first is 7F1A, request approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Chenoa, and I so move.
Motion by Chairman Solner, second by Member Thompson. Comments or questions? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And the motion's passed.
Next item is 7F1B, request approval of an amendment to the pollution control facility section of the McLean County Code as requested by the Ecology Action Center, and I so move.
Motion by Chairman Solner. Is there a second? Second by Member Johnston. Comments or questions? Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And the motion's passed.
Okay, now we're ready for the items that were pulled from consent. Those items are 6C, 1A, B, C, and D. With your permission, I'd like to take those all with one motion.
Is there any objection on these? You may proceed.
Okay, so there are zoning cases. Approve the request of ASD McLean Illinois Solar 3 LLC by AMP Solar Development, case CSU 22-09. Approve the request of ASD McLean Illinois Solar 1 LLC by AMP Solar Development Incorporated in case SU 22-10. Approve the request of Old Colonial Illinois Solar LLC by AMP Solar Development Incorporated in case SU-2211. And approve the request of ASD McLean Illinois Solar V LLC by AMP Solar Development Incorporated in case SU 2207, and I will make that motion.
Okay, motion. Is there a second? Second by Member Rogal. Comments or questions? Member Metzger.
I did ask to have these pulled because in the ZBA meeting a week ago Tuesday, I believe, the AMP Solar representatives agreed that they would either accept a bond or cash escrow for the decommissioning. They specifically said either would be fine. When we look at, and it is apparently the exclusive authority of this board to insist on or determine what kind of a surety that would exist or could exist. And since we already are requiring cash escrows for our wind turbines, I think it's only appropriate to use that same focus and have that consistency to protect our landowners in our county. So my recommendation is to add some clarity, not to change it significantly, but add clarity to, it would be the finding of facts, standards for recommending on number 1. And I would just like to add, under the second to last paragraph, it says the application requests that the decommissioning bond be allowed to provide security for decommissioning. I'd like to add the statement in all 4 of these.
What page are we on? please?
Well, it's on page 46.
The
It's
packet.
on page
Okay.
63. It's in each one of them, it's in that same section.
Okay.
So the one that I have up right now is on page 46. But I would like to add to that then, the county board requests the security be in the form of a cash escrow.
So are you, you're amending this?
Yes, requires, yes. The requires, excuse me, I wrote that wrong. The county board requires the security be in the form of a cash escrow.
Is everybody following where we are? Okay, okay. At the same time, this would pertain to all 4.
Yes,
All right. Any other, so you want to move, you want to amend
I am moving to amend,
with the language you just stated?
correct.
Okay, is there a second? second by Member Klein. Comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the amendment as just stated, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And the motion's carried. Passed, okay.
And
Now we're back to the original motion.
Very good, thank you.
Since that was pulled, we're going to have to vote on it too. So we're back to Member Solner. Had a motion already for approval. Any other comments or discussion? Are we okay on clarification? Okay, thank you. All in favor, please
So
say aye.
we are voting on this
Yes,
new amended.
as amended.
Very good, thank
Thank
you.
you. Yep, got it. Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Thank you very much, and the motion's passed. You have the floor, Mr. Solner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So that is the end of the action items for the Land Use and Transportation Committee. Our general report can be found in the unimproved minutes, and I would be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go on to the report of the county administrator, Ms. Taylor.
Thank you, Chairman McIntyre. I have no items to present this evening.
Okay, we'll go on to item 9 on our agenda. This is appearances by members of the public and county employees in reference to any item that's not on tonight's agenda. We have 8 people that have applied to speak. We will call them up in the order that they applied. I want to remind the speakers you have 3 minutes. You don't have to use 3 minutes because we have 15 minutes total to start with. So first of all, we'll call up Mr. Harry Clore. Harry Clore? Yeah, here he is. Is the mic button on? Mr. Clore, your timer's up here on the screen.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
I was surprised to be first. I appreciate that. And I want to thank everybody here for letting me speak again on behalf of Extension. I'm Harry Clore, Associate Director for Budget, Finance, and Workforce Development for Extension. And I want to just make sure I'm not probably going to change anybody's mind, but I do want to get up here and speak my piece about the funding that's such a big question for Extension. Yes, you know, I'm not going to argue there's a huge reserve at Extension, and there's reasons for that. But if you look at it in more depth, it takes about, as we've mentioned before, about over $1 million to run the McLean County operation for Extension. And 300,000 of that comes from a levy. So the math comes out pretty clearly that reserve is coming from somewhere else. And it's really coming from a lot of places, but mostly because we've worked our tails off to get funding back from the state that we were owed for 2017, 2018, 2019. And we've got that all in the last couple years. And we've also managed to catch up all of our IDOA funding through FY22. So for the first time I've been with Extension 9 years, for the first time ever, we actually have managed to get caught up with all of our IDOA funding. The other thing that needs to be known is central funds from campus have supported this unit heavily. In 2017, 18, and 19, when the state was kind of wacky with their budget, we supported the unit with over $1 million of central funds. And in the last 2 years, we've also supported salary and leases to the number of about $460,000. So again, the reserve that you see is coming from other places, and not just, only a small portion would be from the McLean, levy. And, you know, I'm confident that everybody's going to vote how they feel best on the upcoming budget, and that's cool. But please know that if we get to the $30,000 level, which is the number I've heard, that Bobby and I, like we always do, the county director, will get together, we'll put together a plan, but we're going to plan for $30,000 going forward, and that means we're going to have to consider cuts. And that's going to be to people, programs, and the county fair, for example. That'll probably get cut because that's $49,000 that we give to the fair board for 1 week. And I'm counting down 2, 1, 0. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clore. Next speaker is Ms. Sharon Nichols.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Chairman and board members, I proudly stand before you to share that McLean County has one of the strongest extension programs in the state, and it reaches a diversity of folks in rural and urban communities. Nearly 900 4-H members are supported, and during the past summer, there were 4,085 entries into the 4-H shows. These numbers have all increased from the past year. I want to highlight Drew Vreba from Normal. He's one of McLean County 4-H members, and this month he was recognized with the 2022 4-H Youth in Action Award for STEM. This award was based on his innovation and activism from his participation in 4-H. Mr. Reba says, and I quote, "4-H gave me the confidence to know I can solve daunting problems. After conquering what seems like impossible challenges with my 4-H robotics team, I have known from a young age that I'm capable of doing a lot," unquote. Mr. Reba created 2 new 4-H robotics clubs at local schools and has advocated with national policymakers for increased support of after-school STEM programs. The university didn't ask him to do this, and we didn't direct him to do this. He achieved this through his passion for sharing his 4-H experience with others. He did this with the support of 4-H volunteers who firmly believe that youth can succeed if they are all given the opportunity. He was the only national winner in STEM this year. 4-H staff work with volunteers to offer over 150 different projects on a variety of content areas, and these are just the regular programs. Any youth or volunteer can offer a special interest club to meet their own curiosities. There are 150 Master Gardener and Master Naturalist volunteers in McLean County who serve to beautify and conserve landscapes and green spaces across the county. An independent external review team found that the multiplier effect of Illinois Extension is 10. What this means is that for every dollar invested in Extension, the economic impact is tenfold. This is because Extension hires staff members and supports volunteers who live and work in your communities. Moreover, based on Extension's budget model, when McLean County provides $1 to Illinois Extension, the county actually receives 80 cents more in matching funds from Illinois Extension's other funding resources. As with any organization, things do not always go smoothly. Misunderstandings can happen, and folks may feel undervalued by the very things that they strive to support. We know that Extension has not always met your needs, and we have not always been as relevant as we could be, but we do ask for grace as we work cooperatively to improve and to evolve and be relevant in today and the years ahead. I encourage you to keep the funding commitment to Illinois Extension at $300,000 so that we can continue to be proud of the cooperative programs and services offered to the residents of McLean County. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker is Mr. Don Meyer.
I'm a lifelong county resident and served Extension for 27 years, 20 as your county director. I am one of many supporters of 4-H and Extension. Please set aside politics at your November budget vote and remember your taxpayers. These are trying times for households. You can help hold the line on local taxes by lowering the Extension levy. I have 4 supporting points I'd like to share. Point 1, funding. Extension, as you've heard, carried out $2.7 million with a $1.5 million budget. Administration wants more taxes to build up to an 18-month carryover, which is unrealistic. One of the problems we have with funding is the lack of transparency. We learned some things tonight that I haven't heard before in all my studies of Extension, and the lack of transparency has led to some of this problem. Most of the time, in most years, unit funds are the key source which leads to the state match, and that's the way this process has worked for decades. Program cuts have been threatened if the levy is cut. The carryover should prevent cuts. The Extension levy is not an entitlement, it is rather a fund source. Levies are approved each year by the county board and to be based on need, and this year there is no need. Point 2, the cooperative partnership of Extension is gone. Formerly, local bottom-up input was blended with campus initiatives. Now it has become a top-down system, yet local taxes foot the bill. Only 4 council meetings are annually scheduled in most units. Only 11 votes were taken in the past year in this unit. 3 of those 11 approved minutes, 4 appointed members, 1 modified the agenda, and 3 adjourned meetings. No votes were related to programming, staffing, or expenditures. Recently, the first council meeting in 6 months was held, and only 5 members from 3 counties were present, and the county director was missing. Point 3, respect for volunteers is an underlying issue. Countless volunteers have left the program. A few more were fired or dismissed because they had opposing viewpoints. Emails from local staff have labeled volunteers as bullies. During a recent extension presentation with you, there was not one reference by the presenters to hundreds of 4-H volunteers operating clubs and the fair. There's been a high amount of staff turnover as well. Heavy-duty policy manuals have been imposed on master gardeners and master naturalists, replacing long-standard, locally developed guidelines. This year, our local 4-H alumni was no longer recognized after 25 years of supporting and funding 4-H, and were banned from using the Clover and the 4-H fair rooms. Volunteers have been scared to speak out or attend meetings like this to share concerns. Finally, the U of I's indifference to local concerns is an issue. Numerous groups have traveled to campus to share concerns of fiscal policy, heavy-handed leadership, top-down programming, and staff turnover. My group met with the dean and extension administrators in February of 2020, yet the issues remain. Please do what is best for taxpayers in your districts. Hold the line this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Ms. Sandra McGee. Is Sandra McGee here?
Yes, she's coming.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Sandy McGee, a supporter of McLean County Extension Programming for 47 years. First as a member and volunteer of McLean County Homemakers Extension Association, HEA, and then as an extension employee for 19 years, the last 5 which were as the McLean County 4-H youth educator. I retired in 2011. Side note, back in the day, my mother was a 4-H leader, and as teenagers, my to-be future husband was a part, and I was, of Woodford County 4-H. Our 4 children were later involved in McLean County 4-H. I come today with much appreciation for the thoroughness of the board's finance committee and the time and effort that they have expended in determining the appropriate amount for next year's annual extension levy. McLean County Extension programming, including 4-H, will not be harmed this year by a reduction in county board funding. I feel assured that the funds will be available because our county extension office reports 2.7 in hand. Extension was and remains a simple concept. Each one reach one, each one teach one. Research-based content is designed by UI faculty for delivery by grassroots volunteers to local audiences. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words. So picture this. The UI extension programming is a big orange education bus, and the wheels on the bus are the extension volunteers. Our county's always celebrated those extension volunteers, and they staff many of the programs, master naturalists, master gardeners, 4-H youth programs. They bring their connections. They expand our audiences. They bring their expertise. They also pay local property taxes, and they support the local office space from which UI campus faculty provide research-based content. Unheard of in the past, extension volunteers are now withdrawing their support, citing adverse management, a lack of transparency, and an abundance of misinformation. 4-H and other extension programming will not be cut because of the lack of funding. Loss of programming will occur because that big orange bus will have no wheels. On behalf of the taxpayers, the board's action will inspire Extension Management to halt the continued erosion of valuable volunteers and to thoughtfully utilize excess reserves this coming year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Janice McCoy.
Good evening, County Board members, and thank you for your service. I'm Janice McCoy, the Assistant Director for Extensions Region 2, which includes McLean County. I'd like to talk to you tonight about extension funding in the tax levy request. It is the intent of this board to reduce extensions levy from $300,000 to $30,000 this year. While Extension does have operating cash reserves that will enable us to maintain programming through our current fiscal year, which ends on June 30th, just 8 months away, a cut of this magnitude without a 100% guarantee of the return of those funds next year will require us to begin plans for possible program and staff reductions. Our strong financial position allows us to plan for our current operations and possible expansion. But if we're put into an unknown situation, we then have to move to planning for possible reductions. While I understand that you have heard negative comments from some constituents, please also know that there are multitudes of people who are satisfied and happy with extension programming and personnel. We have a number of councils and committees, Extension Council, Extension Committees, Master Gardener and Naturalist Innovation and Business Committees, and 4-H Volunteer Committees. We receive input regularly from our constituents that guides, directs, and changes the direction of our efforts. As part of the nationwide system of land-grant educational institutions, we're charged by the federal government to provide for research, teaching, and extension in all of Illinois. We're a vital component of that three-part mission and are committed to our local communities. We cannot, however, separate ourselves from the benefits of being connected to one of the greatest universities in the country. Sometimes that means that policies and procedures are put in place to protect the financial health of the university system, of which Extension's a vital part, or risk management procedures may be put into place to protect our most vulnerable program participants. Not everyone appreciates these policies and procedures, but like any organization, we have a responsibility to protect the people we serve, our organization, and our employees. A $270,000 reduction is really much larger. It's closer to $486,000 when you include the match. By removing the match, you're removing those dollars from your community, the people you serve, and the employees of Extension. The assistant director role has changed to have more involvement in local units than past directors have had, so I pledge my commitment to our partnerships and our local connections with you and our communities. I hope you will reconsider this drastic cut, and together we will move forward and continue to change the lives of people in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. That expends our 15-minute time allotted for rules. Is there a motion to extend? We have 3 speakers left. Motion by Member Klein, second by Member Johnston. Any objections? I believe I do not have to take a vote on this. Thank you. There are no objections. We'll go ahead with this. Our next speaker is Penny Feehan.
Hello, my name's Penny Feehan. Thank you for allowing me this time to share with you tonight. I am a McLean County Master Gardener class of 2003. It was perfect timing for me to attend the Master Gardener program in January 2003. Sorry, emotional. As my son had just announced his desire to enlist in the United States Marine Corps, and he would be leaving in February for San Diego, California, MCRD for 12 weeks of boot camp. It had always been my desire to enroll in the Master Gardener program, but it never seemed quite right. But now the time had finally come. I needed something to keep my mind occupied. I can still say wow After these almost 20 years participating in this organization, the volume of information and education I not only got during those initial classes, but the ongoing education I continue to gather. Our Master Gardener training classes covered everything from types of soil to plant biology, the good, the bad, the ugly bugs, photosynthesis to pruning trees, how to grow annuals, perennials, shrubs, trees, and vegetables. We talked about fertilizer and lawn care, landscape design, and how to dig the proper hole for planting trees. There isn't enough time here tonight to tell you what else I've been taught, but the education continues to this day for me, a recently proclaimed lifelong learner. Along the way as a Master Gardener, not only have I been educated, but I have also had the opportunity to educate and teach others. Our annual Home Lawn and Garden Day, we, as Master Gardeners, pass our knowledge on to others in the community, and it's a delight to see the faces of others as they get the information and sometimes hands-on learning they need to grow something green and succeed. Over the past almost 20 years, I've had the privilege of meeting lots of wonderful people. Whether I'm working with a strong and talented extension staff, working alongside other Master Gardeners, answering community questions through the help desk, teaching classes at Home Lawn Garden Day, volunteering at our community projects, or judging at the McLean County Fair. Flowers, of course. We are taught to research and problem solve. I like that. I also worked in retail sales at a local garden center for 13 years. The education I received through the Master Gardener program gave me the confidence I needed to answer questions for the customers. The knowledge, insight, and applications for this organization have been one of the most exciting and rewarding parts of my life. Thank you again for support of this organization, and if you ever want to know how to grow a green thumb, now you know who to talk to.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Hannah Johnson.
My name is Hannah Johnson. I'm the current executive director of the Illinois Art Station in Normal, the former director of youth and family education at the McLean County Museum of History in Bloomington, and the primary facilitator of the Central Illinois Community Educators Group. In my hyper-local nonprofit career in informal and cultural education, I have had the pleasure of partnering and collaborating with U of I Extension and its many McLean County programs, including Unity Community Center, Master Gardeners and Naturalists, 4-H, and STEAM in the classroom. I have personally and professionally benefited from the opportunity to present educational, community-centered programming to captive, diverse audiences thanks to Extension, and have relied on the expertise, commitment, and camaraderie of every U of I Extension staffer I have had the privilege to work with. Unity Community Center holds a particularly significant place in my experience as an educator and community member, and there are a few other environments in which I have learned as much as I have taught. The support and mutual respect that Extension staff offers their Unity students is the same that they share with their partners and is exemplary of the Extension's larger effort to center community as it provides, quote, practical translations of cutting-edge research to help people, businesses, and communities find answers to some of the most pressing issues of our modern world, end quote. Cutting-edge research and practical and applicable services and programs are not tasks easily undertaken without appropriate funding. An organization should be lauded rather than penalized for having the capacity to reserve resources for the inevitable day that unprecedented circumstances demand that they find their own way, while undeniably continuing to shoulder the burdens and responsibilities of their service and work. The County of McLean has an obligation to the children and families of McLean to commend financial forethought and resource management and continue to fund U of I Extension at a level that allows and empowers the organization to take best advantage of the matching monies available to them and leverage those resources to the betterment and enlightenment of our county's kids, families, and community members who have the great honor of learning with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Our last speaker tonight is Ms. Cynthia Landgrel. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Thank you.
Well, I can see, number one, I'm woefully unprepared. I don't have anything written down, but I am a master gardener, and I'm fairly new. I'm the class of 19, so I haven't been at this very long. And I'm kind of unaware of some of the things that I heard here tonight. I'm not a bully, and I've never experienced bullying in my activities with Master Gardeners. I also work with Master Naturalists. And the main thing I wanted to say is that we, as Master Gardeners, don't just make things beautiful in the community. We do that, but that's not the only thing we do. We have a major educative role in the community. And we do a lot of activities with children that I think are critical. And we do it through thousands of hours of volunteer time. As Master Gardeners, Master Naturalists, we just freely give that time because we enjoy this work. But we couldn't do it without the support of Extension. And without the support of Extension, I think that there are many programs that won't continue in our community. And I want to be able to continue to go to daycare centers and provide activities for children, to provide activities at Nature Trails Day, to give information to people when they come to the farmer's market with questions about why their tomatoes aren't turning red. These are all things that, as Master Gardeners, we couldn't do without the support of Extension. And so I encourage you to continue, please, to support Illinois Extension. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That concludes our public speaking for tonight. Item 10 on our agenda is any other business or communication at this time? Yeah, Member Barnett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to remind the board that the Legislative Subcommittee will be meeting on Thursday, October 27th at 4:30 p.m. I believe an email went out from administration letting folks know if they had proposals to submit to the subcommittee for consideration in our 2023 legislative platform, they could submit those. This will be the first meeting of the committee. There'll probably be a couple more as we head toward the holidays here. But just wanted to be sure the board was aware that that meeting was coming up on Thursday, the 27th.
Thursday, the 27th,
at 4:30.
Legislative Subcommittee meeting. Put her on your calendar. Thank you. Anyone else have anything for tonight? Member Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just add that the Finance Committee did discuss the issue that was just discussed here, and that for a full and fair review of those that information, I would encourage everybody to review the Finance Committee meeting and get more facts there as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Schaefer.
I just want to report that we had a very successful community behavioral health forum last week with we're right around 300 people, I believe, that had been registered, and it was well attended, and we've heard some really good feedback from that, and looking forward to start planning already for next year.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else? Well, that concludes our meeting. Thank you, everyone, for coming. This meeting is adjourned. Be good to yourself. Be good to everybody. We'll see you again. Drive safe.